It's hard to hear that, it's hard to say that, it's hard to do that, but I am going to. Hopefully. So I don't know if we're too far past the new year for me to be making an ins and outs for 2026 video, but you know what? Here I am. I've been thinking about this quite a lot in the past few weeks, especially with the big downsize I've been doing and sort of reflecting on my intentions for my plant collection this year and going forward, and how that might have changed over the past couple years even. And I've been thinking about some things that I just don't want to be bringing with me forward, as well as some things that I'm definitely going to be trying to work on in this year. And just like going forward in my plant collection, it doesn't have to be time-based, but really thinking about how I want to grow my collection of houseplants now. And that is what I'm going to be talking about today. Before I get into it though, I want to say if you're new here and you don't know me already, hi, my name is Emma and I make houseplanty content all over the internet. So if you want to follow along with my houseplanty journey and maybe learn something along the way, stick around, watch some more of my videos and subscribe to my channel. If you are not new here, welcome back. I really appreciate you returning. Really quick disclaimer though, I just want to say that this is things that I am working on in my collection, and I am not judging anybody who does any of the things that I deem as out for myself. If you want to do them, they're your plants, it's your collection, it's your life, you can do what you want. I'm not judging you. This is kind of just what I need to do for myself in my home and where I see my collection going. So I'm gonna start with the outs because I want to end on a positive note. I think it's always more fun that way. So out number one is big hauls. I am really trying not to be adding that many new plants into my collection. I've kind of been ramping down on this in the past few years. I feel like it was like 2020, 2022 time, that like whole time period where people, including myself, were doing big hauls regularly and amassing lots and lots of plants. And it was great. It was a good time, but I have found that that's not the most sustainable thing for myself. And so I am, where possible, not going to be doing big hauls. Yes, I occasionally do need to get plants in because this is a plant channel and I want to show things to you all, and sometimes I don't have all the plants. So there will be times that I will do hauls. I'm not going to like stop buying plants completely because that is absolutely unreasonable for myself in this line of work. But I think those like big hauls where you're getting like 7, 8, 9, 10 plants all at once, I can't do that anymore. I, one, don't have the space. Two, I don't have the time to like learn about all of these plants and like figure out what's best for them. And I don't think I would be giving them the like full-on attention and care that they would need to survive and thrive in my home. So I'm just not gonna do it anymore. And I know it's tempting because who doesn't love getting a bunch of new plants? Like that's a straight up dopamine hit fast. I get it. But in the long run, it's not going to be beneficial for me to continue doing those sort of big hauls. So I'm not going to. I'm also getting rid of overwhelming spaces. I talked about this a lot in my decluttering, downsizing, purge video. I was just feeling really overwhelmed with the number of plants I had jammed into quite small spaces, and it wasn't allowing me to be able to see everything. And so things were going unnoticed. I think it probably contributed in the past to pest issues. Luckily, knock on wood, I haven't had pest issues in a little bit, like a big infestation in a while, and so that's fantastic. But I think it had previously contributed towards that, and it's contributed towards my plants not being able to get as much light or as much care or as much water probably as well as they might have wanted. And it's just visually overwhelming as well when you've got loads of different plants crowded into a place. And like maybe maximalism is for some people. Absolutely, but I am much more on the minimalist side of like home decor and stuff like that, and so having minimalist home decor and then just like maximal plants, it was starting to feel really like chaotic in my brain, and I didn't feel like I was able to sort of think or breathe in my home anymore, which is like the opposite of what we want. And so I have spent quite a lot of time trying to declutter and really be specific about what plants I am including in my collection and being really intentional about where I'm putting them as well, and trying to give them the best spots for their needs, as well as have them all in places where I can see them and they're not going to be getting neglected due to me not being able to see them. Another out for me is spending lots of money on like rare plants specifically. I know it is incredibly tempting to get the like next it plant, and like there's always new things coming out, but I am telling myself this year, and I have been for a while, but I want to continue this. I am telling myself to wait, especially with like the rise in tissue culture throughout the world and like more countries getting involved in it and tissue culture generally ramping up. The availability of quote unquote rare plants is going to be much higher. There's going to be more things available. You're going to be able to get many more things for much cheaper if you wait. So I'm really sticking to that, and I don't want to set myself a price limit because I don't think that makes sense because everything is subjective, but I'm going to be taking more caution, I think, into getting plants with higher price tags. In general, I've not been someone who has spent hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, on like single plants, which I know is possible, and like props to you if you can afford that. I'm happy for you, but that's just not something that I have been able to do, and it's not something that I want to do, even if I had that sort of opportunity. And I just think waiting for prices to fall is generally just a better idea for myself, because like there's things that I have bought in previous years that I spent £100 on or like £85 on that I could now get for £6. And it's like, if I had just waited a couple more years, one, I could have gotten the plant for much cheaper, and two, I could have used that plant to realize that maybe it's not for me. I'm talking about the Pink Princess specifically because I did spend loads of money on getting them back in 2020, 2021, and now you can get them pretty much anywhere because of tissue culture. And they're like, they just cost nothing. And I also don't even like the plant that much. And so it's like, I could have figured this out so much better and at less risk to myself if I had just waited. Okay, I'm really calling myself out on this one. Getting as many plants of a genus as I can because I've become obsessed with it. It's like my new hyperfixation. I don't need to do that. I have done that with so many things. I've done that with Hoyas in the past. I think maybe like 2023 or 2024 was like a big Hoya year for me. Last year in 2025, it was begonias, and I like got so many different types of begonias, and I still love my begonias. I still think I'm a begonia girl. I love the ones that I have ended up keeping in my collection, but over time, like within the span of less than a year, I have figured out that I don't want lots of the begonias that I had at one point, and that I don't need to have them all. There is no need for me to have them all. I can have just a few that I'm like really into and grow those really well instead of amassing more and more in like to like collect them all Pokemon style. And not that I get burnt out with them, but I can't give all of them the exact right care, and I end up having some that like don't grow as well, some that I just don't like the vibe of. Pink plants for me are out. I have tried so many times pink plants that like I thought this is gonna be it. This is gonna change my mind about pink plants. It never has. I have like maybe a couple where the leaves grow in pink, but then they like harden off and mature to not pink anymore. I just don't think that pink plants are for me. I don't think they necessarily fit within my home. And if you like them, fantastic for you. There's more of them out there for you. I don't need them for myself. And I feel like I see them and like, in theory, I think they're cute. And like maybe in somebody else's home, absolutely. But when I end up bringing them into my space, they just like don't suit me as well as I don't find them as attractive in my space as I do in other people's spaces. And I think I just need to like not even go for pink plants anymore. And then my last out is propping every single cutting and corm that I take off my plants. It's taken me years to get to the point where I can prune my plants without stress. And even still, like it can be stressful sometimes, especially if you like the way a plant is growing or looking, but sometimes they do need a bit of a prune. And over the past years, I have wanted to propagate every cutting I have and like, thinking, I will add it into my plant later, or like I can give it away or something. I never really end up adding it back into the mother plant to like make it a fuller plant. And I could like figure out giving it away, but again, that just takes more time and effort that I don't need. Like, you wouldn't expect someone in an outdoor garden who takes cuttings of their plants to keep every single prune. Like, you just don't do that outside. And so why is that an expectation for indoor gardening, that we keep everything and like everything is a new plant and like you have to do that, and it's wrong to just throw away the cutting or the corm? It's not. And I am finally getting that into my head and accepting that that's okay. And I'm proud of myself for making those cuts and throwing away those corms, because I don't need to keep them all. Like, especially with alocasia corms, like if I have taken them out of my plant because I repotted my plant, I probably don't need the corms because I already have the whole plant. Pretty much every time I end up just giving them away at plant swaps or like posting them out to someone, and I don't need to do that. There's no requirement for me to do that. And yes, it's nice where I can, especially if it is a bit more of an uncommon sort of alocasia. Yeah, sure, I'll keep the corms and I will pass along a baby. Fine. But I don't have to, and I don't want to anymore. And so I'm going to be trying my very best to not propagate things unless I really have specific intentions for that plant that I will follow through on. And if not, that cutting's going in the bin. That corm is going in the bin, and that's okay. It's hard to hear that. It's hard to say that. It's hard to do that, but I am going to. Hopefully. Okay, now let's get into the positive side of the video, the ins, the things that I am going to be trying to do, kind of like goals, but I'm not setting them as specific goals because that feels like too much pressure. But my first in is getting the plants that I have in my collection to mature, size up, fenestrate, bloom, be the healthiest version of that plant that it can be. That is what I want to be doing. And like, really just focus on the collection that I have and growing these plants well and happily and healthily. And in some cases that might mean getting more grow lights or figuring out a better spot for it humidity wise. But my hope is that I can actually be thinking about these things and getting plants into the places where they can be getting their ideal care so that they are maturing the way I want them to. Like, maybe I'll actually get my Cebu Blue to fenestrate this year because I'm going to be focusing on the moss pole. I'm going to be trying to make sure it's hydrated and got enough moss to grow into, and hopefully I can get it to size up and fenestrate. But I really want to be focusing on keeping my plants happy and healthy, and then also getting them to grow bigger, better, mature, bloom, whatever. Just get them growing well. So like I said earlier, I don't think it's quite possible for me to not add any new plants to my collection during the course of this year and like the future. I don't think that's reasonable for myself. That being said, I'm not like trying to add new things, but if I do add new things to my collection, my ideal would be to get them secondhand, whether that's through swaps, whether that's through buying from private sellers, as opposed to like plant shops. Not that I don't want to support plant shops, like obviously I want to support independent plant shops as well, but if I can get plants secondhand, it feels a little bit less like overconsumption to me. And I feel like when I am shopping in plant shops, they always get me with the like,
spend this much for free shipping.
And so I end up buying more than I originally was expecting because I'm just trying to get to the free shipping, and then I end up having things that I didn't necessarily want previously. Whereas if I'm buying from a private seller, it's probably because I'm looking for a specific plant and they have that plant. And they don't just have like a mass warehouse of loads of other things that I could possibly get. And so it would be less tempting for me to do that. And also like going to things like plant swaps to get new plants instead of buying them is another great, more sustainable option, as well as a cheaper option. I have gotten loads of wishlist plants from swaps. I've swapped away with plants that were somebody else's wishlist plants. So if you can get to a plant swap, it's a fantastic way to get new plants, meet new people, and just generally do it in a nice community-based, friendly, sustainable, cheaper way. So this one kind of goes along with my first in as well. I want to be repotting plants before they are like begging for it. In general, I am a repotting procrastinator, and I leave it probably way too long between repots for a lot of my plants. And I really want to be changing that and focusing on repotting my plants more frequently and giving them the best chance they can to succeed. And especially with my alocasias, because I feel like I end up letting those roots just like grow like crazy before I end up giving it a repot. So really taking a look at my plants' roots more frequently, and giving them the repot before I would have previously. And that sort of upsize in pot and soil refresh or substrate refresh could be the difference between the plant just surviving and the plant actually thriving. And then my final in is starting plants fresh. Yes, I do mean resetting plants and like starting them over basically. So I recently did this with my Alocasia Mitchelletiana Frydek. I repotted it and collected a bunch of corms that have sprouted very well for me. But I've since rehomed the big plant that I had, and I actually feel so much better having done that and started fresh, because like while I did have somewhat of an emotional attachment to that plant, I really liked the vibe of the Mitchelletiana, the Frydek. It has been an alocasia that's grown very well for me over the years, but I don't need to have the big one all the time. I can start over from corms again and like start fresh and have a new start with it. That's not a problem. There is no problem with doing that. And I am actually feeling really glad that I have. And I'm excited to be able to start again almost, because I didn't grow that plant from corms to begin with. Now I can kind of start over from corms and see how far I can get it to grow and like mature and size up over the course of this year or future, whatever amount of time. I am just looking forward to seeing how it goes. And I'm not gonna be afraid to make that choice to restart things. I've done it with some begonias as well recently. I have chopped them up and I am now restarting them for propagations. I threw away the bottom bits. One, because they didn't really have leaves and I don't think they would be worth anyone really wanting them. But I'm gonna start them over from smaller, and that's okay. And I'm excited about them. I feel like it's giving me this renewed joy with these plants, and I'm not gonna be afraid to do that for more plants in the future. And it's also kind of a good way to downsize, because now instead of having like a giant Alocasia Frydek or a giant begonia, I just have a small one again. And I'm still getting to keep the plant, I get to enjoy it, and I still kind of get that like emotional bond with it, but it's increased because I am starting it over, and I'm not gonna be afraid of starting over healthy plants as well. I know, it feels weird and scary and different, but I'm excited about it, and me being excited about my plant collection is the most important thing. Because this is my hobby, this is my job, this is like a big chunk of my life, and I want to feel excited and happy about it. And just the thought of restarting things, you can see how much I'm smiling and the amount of joy that it's like giving me. Yes, that is what we want. That is what I want for myself and my collection. And so I'm not going to be afraid of restarting things and giving them a new lease of life in my home in a different way. So there we go. I feel like that was the perfect way to end this video, because like I can just feel the excitement and like the joy for my collection. I just feel such like a renewed energy and excitement for like getting out those old things that I just want to be done with in my plant collecting ways and bringing in the sort of new side of things. I'm just really excited for it. I also kind of want to challenge you to think about your like plant collection ins and outs. Feel free to pop them below in the comments, and it can kind of like hold you accountable a little bit by like writing it out, I'll be sure to cheer you on down there in the comments as well. Before I sign off, I want to say a huge thank you to the newest member of my good growing fam over on Patreon, Joe. Thank you for joining in. I really appreciate it. I hope you love it over there. If anyone else is interested in joining my Patreon, it is £3 a month, and for that you get like bonus content and live chats and all kinds of fantastic things. If you do want to support more, appreciated, but totally fine if not. Also totally fine if Patreon is not your thing and you don't want to join. All good. If you do though, the link is down below in the description. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up down below and leave a comment on other houseplanty things you'd like me to talk about in the future, and subscribe for more. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to keep growing. Bye!